Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Game Vault podcast stream, and hopefully everything is okay here because we're gonna go right into it. We're gonna do it live because I was informed by a friend of the podcast, Anthony, that the rips directly from from Twitch have a higher quality than the local recordings I was making. So we're not going to do a test broadcast and then come back and all that. So do it live. All right. How's everyone doing? Yeah, so this will be a rare Sunday news hour. Normally it's on Fridays, but holidays and all that crazy stuff. And also, I want to play one of the games that I was trying to play before doing this here. So yeah. Let's get started with what I've been playing. So we'll start up with let's start out with the Retro Roulette Endurance Run. I've been playing through Sonic 3. I played part 1 twice because the first time around we found out that there was no volume on the game for the entire hour or so. So I just started over and we got a little bit further. We got all the way to the casino zone or whatever it's called in this one. It's sort of like a pinball world. So having a lot of fun with it. The checkpoint save system is a lot better than a lot of games of that era. So we should be good. Just kind of got stuck at one point because I didn't know you could jump on balloons. And once we learned that, I easily got past that section of the game. So I'm going to actually take this off because I don't actually need these. That was for listening to the music earlier. That has been fun. What else do we have? Eternights. We're leveling up our party. I'm starting to learn what each party person does and kind of remembering it. Thank you for the follow, great man. And thank you for the sub, Night Duck. I missed that earlier. Hope you enjoy those emotes. We were. I've sort of learned the combat better, and I'm learning that there's moves I'm not using, which is probably going to make the combat easier for me. I figured out how to combo the magic and learned my sword has 2 moves to it. I've been using that one move, the one where you can from far away get up real close to them. I forget the name of it in the game, but I got to remember that triangle, square, circle, X are all, when you hold R1, all have a different move to it. Just got to memorize that, but I'm starting to get the combat in hand, and it's becoming a ton of fun. The combat used to be a little bit of a slog for me, and that was probably my fault for not using all the weapons available. So we played through that, I know one thing over the holiday season, you probably know in the background, I gotta fix the lighting situation so what's going on right now does not happen. This was a combination of, I'm assuming, something with an update with the camera, because I look back at old videos and this was not happening before that update. So something definitely happened where some setting got changed or something and I can't find it. But it definitely feels like a lighting problem. So sorry for that tangent. It's just staring me right in the face while I'm talking to you guys. So Eternights, trying to figure out which way I'm going to go. I know Night Duck said that he maxed out Sia first, and I can see why. Mainly because that's all about attack power, and I can see in a game like that where that would be the way to go. The advantage is to be able to do more offense than defense, especially when a lot of the battle system depends on dodging. You don't really need high defense or high hit points if you get really good at dodging, but you do need to be able to hit really hard. So I can definitely see why she would be the first one to max out there, because she's all about attack power, and all of her things do a lot of damage. Um, but yeah, so we're working our way through that. Um, and we made it all the way to the end of a wall situation. Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were more strategic about who you picked, or you were just picking for fun. Um, yeah, but yeah, I can see either way. She's definitely the character I've had the most fun with, like talking over their scenes together. Um, just because you get to yell science all the time, and the points and the pointing and all that stuff is cool. I mean, all the characters are great. Um, yeah, but the overall the characters have been great. It's not like there's in some personas where there's play characters you're like, I don't really, you know, not really gonna. I don't really feel that party member. Um, but here so far everybody's been plays a perfect role, and that's probably a great thing about it being a shorter game. Is that you're not, bogged down in minutia with characters. Um, so enjoying that. Probably close to halfway, or if there's only 3 walls and I'm about to break down the second one, I would think that'd be about halfway, but not sure. Doesn't matter. Having fun. And the other game that I played recently, not on stream, but I've been playing 2 games outside of stream, obviously outside of my NCAA dynasty, which again 6 championships in 7 years. Go Heels. I started playing Life is Strange, Double Exposure. That was the podcast that was the impetus for this becoming a Sunday broadcast. I wanted to get through chapter 1, which I thought was going to be about 2 hours or so, because how long the beat said about 12 to 14 hours. I believe there are 5 chapters. So I was like, they're about 2 hours each, maybe. It turned into about 3 hours or so. I'm debating on whether I can go through it. There wasn't any major things that happened in that first chapter. I'm debating maybe streaming it, because I feel like it's a game I could stream during the afternoon or something, and just have fun with and play 1 episode at a time, and get it done before the end of the year. I'm still debating that, but yeah, just playing through the first one. These games are kind of fun to do this with. But yeah, it's the same Life is Strange formula in the beginning. I all the way got up to the end of episode 1 is where you get the power for this game, which is basically not so much multiverse but parallel universes. You can sort of, it's the whole double exposure thing with photography. It's 2 images, or timelines overlapping each other, not sort of as Marvel's been doing. It's not anything like that, at least from what I can tell. It's been a lot of great interaction so far. The writing's pretty decent. The only thing I worry about with Deck 9, because this happened with True Colors, is the first 3 chapters were really strong, and then it sort of just, fell off a little bit, trying to wrap the story up, trying to keep all the choices in line and keep it interesting. I hope they're able to get through it, kind of like how the original Life is Strange did and made it my game of the year that year. But yeah, I'm having fun with it so far. Characters, already have favorites, already have characters I hate. So we are definitely, going through that. Yeah, it's been fun. But the main game that I've been sinking entirely way too much time into, and may even play after this stream, is Balatro. And I hope I got it correct that time. I've been trying to practice pronouncing it. That game is so great. I feel like can now officially be called like a card game fiend a little bit. I'm not so much a Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Hearthstone, that type of. I could probably get into something a little lighter on the rule set. Like I did, the 3 games I've gotten into really hard, card game wise, was Inscription's card game for the first act of that game. It's very simple and very easy to understand, but very deep in its strategy. And Marvel Snap, which in the beginning was very easy, and I've seen some things that I tried to go back once, and I was just like, this is a completely different game. I lost the meta on it by going away for a few months. But I did get really deep into Marvel Snap when it first came out. And then, obviously, this game. It's just, the thing I love about Balatro is that the concept is simple. It's poker hands. You're just trying to... it's like video poker in the sense that you make a poker hand, you get points depending on how good of a poker hand it is. Each card has a chip value, and you're trying to beat whatever the point level is. Like they have small, big blinds, and a boss blind. You play across there. And, you know, the big thing with it is that throws your strategy off is, you know, you're always in your head when you're playing poker, like, I want the best hand because it gives me the best odds. But it's all about multipliers. It's all about what you have leveled up, because you can level up hands to have like bigger multipliers and more base chip levels. And then there's the jokers. The jokers add to the game. In that they're not just a wild card or something like most jokers are held with. They each have a different ability. And some of them can... It took me... I literally beat the game. When you beat it... when you beat 9 bosses, you technically beat the game with that deck. And then you're supposed to beat it with all the decks and then beat it on all the difficulties. And it's sort of one of those games. And, you know... it took me until after like my first time beating it, and even through the second deck, that I learned that I was misreading the jokers in some cases. Now I still chose them. I didn't not choose them because I misread them, but I thought whenever it said something molt, which is your multiplier, you would get that number on the multiplier. But then I started realizing that there was like plus number molt and then X number molt. And I'm like, and then it just snapped in my head because I was so many different other rule sets I was trying to figure out in that game. Is that what that card would do is times whatever the multiplier is. Say you have an X2 or times 2. If you have a 35 multiplier, it makes it 70. So... that was the point where, because there's something they tell you in the very beginning in the, in the tutorial, where they're like, make sure your jokers are scored left to right across your screen. And I'm like, why does that matter? It's just going to do certain things. And then I realized with the times multipliers instead of plus, you want them to hit last because you have your adding multipliers hit up first, then the times multiplier hits. So you can get like I got a card that like every time you you buy a card pack but you skip it and don't pick any cards, you get plus 3 molt to it. So I had that thing up to like plus 40 every time, no matter what the hand was. So by putting that in like the first or second slot so that it pops, gets that multiplier up, when it gets to the end, you know, it times it, and I'm just like, oh, it was me. It's not so much that. That's pretty funny. About the hitting the head, back of the head is a freshman thing. A little inside TC Tam joke. They call this movie the other podcast I'm on. But no, it was just me not reading the rules thoroughly, essentially what it was. And then once it clicked, And I'm like, oh, and I started putting everything together that the tutorial Joker was telling me, that the game's like rules were telling me, and then it just started clicking, and I beat it with 4 decks already. Just because I'm like, oh, okay, it's rearranged, it's all this stuff, and yeah, it's really fun, really addictive. It's definitely another one more run game. I have runs that end very quickly because there's strategy in the game where you can skip a blind and it gives you something, a reward for that. Um, so sometimes, like the small blind in the beginning, when you have no power, no multiplier, up thing, anything. Um, Usually you can do the small blind and get it pretty easily. You get straights or flushes or full houses or whatever. You get things with face cards or aces, and you can pretty much get to it's usually 300 is the first number. You can get to that pretty easily if you're smart about it. But sometimes they'll give you you can skip that small blind to 300, and they'll give you a free uncommon or rare or whatever Joker in the store. And then, so that means you go to the big blind, which is like 450 instead of 300, a little more challenging. And if you beat that, you get the free Joker. Now, that might even have an enticing thing, where you get, I think the thing I usually skip blinds for early to try to beat the boss blind immediately with no help, is, if it gives me a lot of money at the end. So I've started to learn to not do that early, but you can skip both the small and big blind if you think you can beat the boss. And you can normally see the boss has debuffs and stuff like that. So you can sort of see, okay, those debuffs I can deal with. My card deck gets me about 100,000 chips every game, no matter what the blind is. So I will skip the small and big blinds and whatever rewards they give me to make me stronger on this ante-7, ante-8, final ante boss. The antes are levels 1 through 8. And you can just do it that way. So it really comes down to a lot of RNG luck early in terms of setting your decks and what jokers become available and what you can't as far as I can tell, you can't bring a deck in that is pre-made to just run rampant through the early part of the game, like you could in a Marvel Snap or something like that. You just get the typical 52 card hand and go from there. You can add cards to that hand to go over 52. You can even destroy cards to go under, which you go, why would you want less cards in your deck? Well, some jokers, one of the best rare jokers or something. I think it's like this, but this is just an example of what it could be. One of the rare jokers is for every card you have below 52, it gains X1 multiplier. So if you play with only 42 cards, which is going to be tough to win a lot, you will always get 10 times your multiplier. So it's strategy that way. I just love it. It's definitely thrown a monkey wrench into my top 4 is now pretty solid 5. Because in 5th place, or the 5 games that are in my top, or 4 of the 5 games in my top 5, we've all talked about, and they all could easily be Game of the Years any other year. You have Metaphor, you have Rebirth, you have Persona 3 Reload, and now Balatro. And if Life is Strange is good, that becomes 5. 5 right now is NCAA. So, and that can easily stay there too and be in the competition. It's the game I played the most throughout the year. This game is very, very good. I don't know if it's Game of the Year worthy and things like that. Every other year that doesn't have a Metaphor and Rebirth, I could probably make an argument for it being up there. at number one. But I don't think, even as much as I'm playing it and addicted to it, that it'll get there. But it can definitely knock, Persona 3 out of the number 3 spot. And, slip in right behind those two. So, yeah. But, yeah, that's what I've been playing. Just a lot of online video poker. And then a slightly older, angsty Max Caulfield in game. Oh, and I played through the DLC, the Lake House, the 2-hour, 3-hour DLC for Alan Wake 2, which basically sets up Control 2. And I missed on stream a very important, setup for Control 2 that I wish I could have shown you guys. There's a thing you do, the setup, so that you can get to where you can pull the chain. There's a thing in Control is that if there's a light switch chain, you pull it 3 times, something happens. And in this, it transports you to I think it's the Ocean View Motel or something like that. And then you sort of learn a secret for Control 2. Or what will probably be part of Control 2. So I wish I would have had that in my playthrough. But yeah. Yeah, so next up for me is playing more Life is Strange. Indiana Jones, when it comes out 2 weeks from now? Well, I guess a week from now. You're hearing this on Monday. It'll be, I think it's the 9th or whatever. Or 9th or 10th. So we'll be getting that soon. And then that's it. I would love to get Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth in, but I'm not going to get it in. The only way it makes my list, and I'm telling you this so that it's on video right now before we switch over to the news. The only way Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth ends up on my list is if because I took a very strategic PTO days. For some reason, the generosity of my bosses, I love them, which you don't really say usually about bosses. They gave us 4 of the 5 days off Christmas week. We go in Monday. Like a Dragon Infinite Playtime, exactly. We go in Monday, the 23rd, I believe, or the 22nd, but I think it's the 23rd of this month, and just set up everything to make sure that it's good while we're off. So then I asked for vacation the next week off, so theoretically I would get, it'd be 10 of 11 days off or something nuts like that in a row, almost 2 weeks off, which in my business is insane, and I don't know the level of email I'm going to come back to after the new year, but I don't care. But that if I play during that time period, that is the only way Infinite Wealth ends up on my list. So we'll see. All right, that is all. Hopefully you guys sound off on Blue Sky and then anywhere you get us on social and what you've been playing over the last 2 weeks here. Hopefully you enjoyed our spoiler cast last week. And I know it's not on here. I got to get it on here. We still are doing Extra Life. You go to tinyurl.com/extralifeyear9, the number 9. It's in chat. If you guys are live here on Twitch, and that'll be till December 31st. I have a special thing I'm planning for December 31st. I have 2 options. I'm trying to figure out which one. We're going to be using Shuffler that BizHawk Emulation has. I've done that with time stuff in the past, but there's a damage shuffler thing, which I can't figure out how to do with other games, but it is set for one specific type of game, or one specific game series, that I might just make that what I do. But watch out, we'll do that, and then we'll do some Fuser at 11:30, leading you into midnight on New Year's Eve. So be on the lookout for all that stuff. But without further ado, let's head over to the news. All right. So, as you guys have probably known, Sony is going to has announced a new portable. Unfortunately, not the Vita 2, but what they're basically sounds like they're doing um, is they're trying to do an improved version. Because if I remember correctly, Vita allowed you to stream your PS4 games onto the Vita. It's either PSP or Vita did it with PS3 or PS4. I forget which of the handheld Sonys did this. But you were able to stream the games onto the handheld, but I think you had to be in the same room or same house as the system. I don't think what they're trying to do is kind of what a Steam Deck, what a Switch, take the actual PS5 games with you away from the console. Vita did it for PS3 and PS4. Thank you, Night Duck. So I think, and that was exactly what I was getting to, Night Duck, and it sucked. So what they're going to try here, from what I read in this Bloomberg report, is that make it more akin to how Steam Deck and Switch work, in that the games are sort of, it's not streaming from the system, not in the way they were doing it previously. I want to see if they, but it's not going to be released anytime soon. But yeah, what I'm thinking that they're going to do, if they're going to make this stand out and make it any better than what Vita did, is that it's going to have to be, you can download your games onto, like, it'll have the memory, like, even if it's on, like, mini SD cards or whatever, download the games onto this handheld and take them with you, and they play them natively, and not streamed, or it's streamed in the cloud or whatever. Cloud saves. I was just getting to that. Or it's clouds, out there. Because if I remember correctly, what the Vita did was it streamed directly from your system to the Vita. So it was more of a local cloud. Of the three people currently, like, interacting right now between Night Duck, me, and Metal Militia, I'm probably the least technical. So, in terms of knowing, I know what I want to say, but I don't know exactly how to describe it. Yeah, so, and Vita had cross-save too, between those games. But, yeah, I think they're looking more to get closer to what a Steam Deck essentially does. Which would work perfectly fine and be a good alternative to, yeah. And, yeah, it was just really interesting, because everybody now, I guess they're seeing that maybe the home console market's down a bit, especially with the PS5 Pro, just being a bougie luxury item, and having the sales as though it is, that maybe they're thinking, oh, look, the Switch, less powerful, but people still bought it because of the convenience of being able to take it anywhere. Now, they could be completely wrong about why the Switch sold the way it did, but, yeah, it's just, if you're going to get into the handheld market, it can't be just a second rate. It can't be like a PSP or like a Game Boy or something in that respect, where it's a lesser version of the main thing. There are too many things out there. People can just go do PC games, get a Steam Deck, and it looks like it would on their computer, just on a smaller screen. So, yeah, it needs to be Steam Deck or better at this point, essentially. Yeah. So, yeah, and it'll be interesting. Yeah. Yeah, but it was probably, I would imagine it was less powerful than whatever the main system was at that time. I think, oh, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, my point was saying I'm the third least technical person, is that, it needs to be on level with a Steam Deck or even a Switch, in terms of it needs to not be seen as the lesser version um, of the current system. So yeah, but it's interesting to see after Microsoft did their little thing with Bloomberg that Sony also leaked to Bloomberg about this. Yeah, we'll see. Handheld's probably got a good market going forward here. Hopefully better than VR did. And Tom, some bad news. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won't have an integrate style DLC. So no Vincent DLC, unfortunately. I think we both said that in the spoiler cast that we didn't think it was happening, but we think they should have done it. But I love how they're using it as the excuse that this is them focusing on making a part 3. Like, they're like, hey, yeah, we're not giving you that DLC thing like we did with Yuffie for remake because we're going to make part 3 out faster. That's why we're doing it. Yes. Not because Square Enix said we didn't have the money for it. And it's either we'll give you the money to make part 3 or we'll give you less money to make part 3. Yeah. It either comes down to, hey, we'll give you all the money you want for part 3, or you can make this DLC and we'll give you less money for part 3. And the producers were like, you know what? No, we'll make part 3. We'll make part 3 for the money we need it for. So yes, let's play Dirge of Cerberus, the ultimate Vincent DLC. I imagine now. I don't know how much Tom has been following this, or even if Night Duck has heard this too. The Ever Crisis stuff they're doing. I know they're doing. I've seen Young Sephiroth stuff, and I know that's where Glenn from Rebirth comes from. Are they doing Young Turk stuff? Like, would that be a place where Vincent backstory would slide in? Not sure. The Ever Crisis thing is like eludes me in terms of exactly they're doing there. But that would be an interesting way to just give a little bit of backstory on him, rather than make it exposition in the third game. So, yeah. So moving on. This was one that was kind of a little bit of a shock to me. Casey Hudson, one of the co-founders or co-creators, I should say, of Mass Effect, had opened Studio Human Origin. They shuttered because they lost funding. They were in the middle of making a AAA sci-fi game, which sounded an awful lot like Mass Effect. Kind of like how Ken Levine is doing something that's definitely not BioShock. In Judas, I think it's called. Humanoid Origin. I love how they misspelled it in the head. I was like, wait, I didn't think Human Origin was the name of it. So they lost funding. A little bit of shortfall there, so unfortunately they had to shutter, and they're just basically now worried about finding homes for all the developers and new jobs, and maybe integrate them into that would make sense. Night Duck, if this was one of the ones where the NetEase stuff sort of is coming back to bite some of these studios, because as you said, they were backing out of a lot of projects it was investing in. So let me see if that mentions that in there, because when I heard people verbally talking about the story, they did not mention NetEase. But yeah, they were as the story says, they were actively hiring as recently as May. So this sort of just came out of nowhere. I don't know. They're just in this article. It seems like they're just talking about layoffs. This being lumped in with those layoffs, but yeah, that would make sense if a company as big as NetEase sort of backed out of funding for this. But I'm always interested when a co-creator or a creator in general goes to another studio to make a game that's very similar to the game he's known for. Because sometimes it can be really terrible and sometimes it can work out really well. Um, as much as it's not, um, you know, like probably going to be a 1-to-1 clone, that Ken Levine project could be an interesting one to follow. I mean, you have your Halo Destiny thing. Um, yeah, so I would imagine that would make a lot of sense, Night Duck, as to why a Chinese company might be backing out of uh, funding U.S. Game studios, especially when I mean, um, was it Black Fang or whatever it's called? Black Myth did so well, and I believe those are Chinese developers. So maybe they can take their money and grow the Chinese development market rather than invest in American studios. Not an economist or anything like that, but I could see that working out. But yeah, I was just interested. I was always interested in this project, just to see how close to um, Mass Effect it was. All right. And fun news to finish out. The next 4 stories are all fun stuff. Um, Echoes of Wisdom has finally been put on the Zelda timeline. And here it goes. It is set out after Triforce Heroes, after A Link Between Worlds, so it is on the Link to the Past timeline, which takes place before The Legend of Zelda and Adventures of Link. Which I think, if I remember correctly, in this timeline, The Adventures of Link is the latest game. I should get my Historia out, but I'm not. But yeah, so yeah, they finally put it in here. My favorite part of the timeline thing is this little part. If you can see it down at the bottom here, I know it's not zoomed in real well for you guys, but they have literally just siloed off Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's just literally, there's the timeline that goes across here, and then like be over here. Yeah, they're reading left to right, it'd be here. It's just that line that you see right here on the screen, below Adventures of Link, and then it says Breath of the Wild, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. I have the hardcover books to prove it, which are already, with all these new games out, like not updated. But yeah, it's just a fun, stupid thing for me now. I don't care enough. People get into actual friggin' arguments about this stuff, and I just don't get it. I just laugh at it because it's kind of funny. Because this was obviously the way it was laid out. Link's Awakening, A Link Between Worlds, A Link to the Past are all in this sort of Hyrule that they have here. So, this was fun when I saw this pop up today. And how do I get out of here? Oh, it's just okay. All right. And a fun thing, No Man's Sky, which is very near and dear to our podcast, not so much the Game Ball podcast, but even before that, when we were just part of the main Damie network, before everybody split off there. No Man's Sky was one of the first, I think it might have been the first game we played. Maybe it was year 2. It's either year 1 or year 2. That's year 2 if it's 8 years. Where we opened with No Man's Sky, and to the point where it pissed off Anthony. So No Man's Sky holds a firm place in the history of um, this podcast and this just in general, this online presence for the people involved with this podcast. So after Hello Games announces that No Man's Sky finally has a very positive Steam rating after 8 years of overwhelmingly negative launch. So good on them that it took them 8 years to finally produce the game that everyone's been looking forward to. And it's great that the fans stuck with them and are giving them their props for it. So, yeah, 8 years, just insane that it's been that long. Yeah, it was 2016, so it would have been, yeah, would have been our extra life before the we went on to the bad timeline that we are currently on right now. So yeah. So good on Sean Murphy and Hello Games for sticking with it. And the one thing which it'll probably come up at the Game Awards, I'm sure he's going to talk about his new game on there. When he talked about his new game last year, it was just like, dude, stop with the overpromising. You should have learned from No Man's Sky that you do not want to overpromise on your game. But no, he's talking about, oh, this is going to be the most integrated or whatever game. It was like, oh boy. Yeah. You told us there were going to be 1 billion planets with things to do, and there wasn't when No Man's Sky came out. So, yeah. Hopefully they've learned their lessons there for their new game. All right, next up. Very good luck in retirement to a PlayStation veteran, Shuhei Yoshida, who's been in the company for 31 years. Had multiple roles. You've probably seen his face a whole bunch at E3s and stuff like that. Yep, and Night Duck, same with Cyberpunk 2077. Sticking with it and, finally getting the game to the place where it should have been if they weren't rushed out. And, yeah. Yeah, it's... Yeah. The only thing about the overpromising is that it's like, dude, you stop with these really large hyperboles and stuff. Like, you can talk about the things you're trying to do in the game, but don't use it's going to be the biggest or the greatest or the largest, and just whoo, calm the nerve a little bit there. But anyway, Shuhei, you've probably seen him on a bunch of stuff. He's popped up on Kind of Funny's content because he has, I guess, some sort of friendly relationship with Greg Miller over there. He's sort of been partial face of the Japanese part of Sony for a while, and then sort of came over to Sony of America. And probably most famous for, if you watch the E3, when they were basically shitting on Xbox One and the fact that the DRM and stuff they were going to put in the Xbox One, and him and Adam Boyes of Iron Galaxy now, they were the ones that exchanged the video game, handed him the video game and saying, this is how we share games on PlayStation. So, most of you out there has probably known him from that. But he is finally retiring. So good luck to him in retirement. And, we'll see if it's like how Nintendo sort of needed to find its footing again with on-screen people after Reggie left and Iwata died. We'll see if Sony, they've lost a lot of their from facing people over the years. So it's not an easy thing to do. Xbox has to, figure out what to do with if Phil Spencer ever goes away. I mean, Matt Booty is just, as his last name states. So, but anyway, good luck, Shohei. Or Shuhei. Shohei is the baseball player. And speaking of Sony, as this is going to be a Sony-centric thing, they confirm, in quotes, that the PlayStation 2 sold over 160 million consoles worldwide in lifetime. The Nintendo DS was at 154. The Switch is at 146. I believe the Wii is up and around there as well. Those numbers are not in this as far as I can tell. But, this 160 number, probably goosed a little bit. I don't know if it's... I trust Nintendo's numbers a little more just because they do the 154.02 million units sold. It's a very specific number and not just a nice round number like 160 is there. But, yeah, the PlayStation 2 is probably, in terms of 360 was pretty big, but in terms of my lifetime growing up, that was the first, everybody had to have this console. Sort of thing where people, even, yeah, that's true. Where, even people that were very casually into video games in my friend group in high school were getting PS2s. So it was the first one of those for me. Maybe Genesis or Super Nintendo or the 64 or something was like that when it came out, or even the original PlayStation. But I feel like the PlayStation 2 was the first for our generation, at least late 30s, early 40s, that were yeah, gotta have that PS2. And then 360 sort of was the next level on that, and then it was PS4, So, and then the Wii was just this, I will always say, the Wii is just this weird phenomenon that I don't know if even Nintendo knew how weird it was. Where, everyone wanted a Wii. Your grandmother wanted a Wii, who has never known what a video game is, because they saw you could do the bowling or the tennis or whatever on the video game system. That's all they wanted to do. So, 70 million consoles were sold just for Wii Sports. So this number popped up because they're doing the whole 35th anniversary of PlayStation thing. I think it's 35? Or whatever the anniversary is. 30th? 30th? Whatever. They're bringing out their special PS5s. I think it's 30. I was just trying to do the math in my head. I'm I think it's 30. Coming up. So, yeah, they're putting out all these numbers and all these things on their website. So it's 30, yeah. So 160 million. It's a lot of consoles. Yeah, and the only reason Switch got close, or will get close, they may even get past it, maybe, is because, A, the ability to have it be handheld and regular, and also because, as you can see with the DS and 3DS and all those other ones being on this list, as well, is that Nintendo is the only one, and Sony has been this way too, but not to the level, have been able to infiltrate every market in the world. Nintendo's huge in Japan, they're huge in Europe, they're huge in North America, they're huge in the big countries like Brazil and stuff, in South America, and they're just huge everywhere. So those numbers can be high because they're not deflated by, Xbox's numbers are slightly deflated because they're not that big in Japan. So they can't get to the heights of a Sony or a Nintendo or even a Sega, because they don't have a foothold in the Japanese market that the other two do. So it's never a surprise when it's these two studios sort of, or companies sort of fighting it out for the top of this list. It's and the Chinese market's going to become a big one. If Microsoft is big in the Chinese market and that starts opening up because of this stupid tariffs and stuff, maybe they'll start shooting up to the top of the list there. But yeah, so fun numbers thing there. And then finally, our PlayStation Plus monthly games for December is coming out, and it's going to be It Takes Two, which me and Roxy Foxy played through on this channel before we saved all of our videos, so there is not any record of this playthrough. I don't think, but either way, It Takes Two. We played through the entire game together. It was fun. It was a good time if you do play co-op. And then the other one is Aliens: Dark Descent and Temtem. This is definitely, I will say, with these monthly games, the It Takes Two is perfect for December. I don't know about the other two. I haven't really know if Aliens: Dark Descent is any good. Excuse me. But It Takes Two is a perfect game to have come out free during the holiday season, when you can be playing with family members or, kids and stuff like that. It deals with a heavy topic, but I'm sure you can skip past cutscenes and, look past that stuff and then just do the activities, because it deals with possible divorce, is the whole point of the game. But the game plays fun as a co-op, couch co-op game. So those are the games to look forward to. I'm sure next week we'll have all of our Game Pass Xbox stuff coming through, and then I'm gonna start saying the Amazon stuff, because I think it's Amazon, right? The Prime Gaming stuff that had some freaking good games, and I've been ignoring it. My GOG catalog has blown up because of it. So when I start seeing that coming across, I'm going to start adding that to this end of the news cycle here. Yeah, so that'll do it for the news. Some housekeeping before we end this podcast. We'll be back tonight with Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And then we'll be back on Friday with News Hour. There may be a Chrono Trigger coming back soon. I'll let Tom make the formal announcement on Blue Sky for you guys out there when that'll occur, or on one of the streams we have coming up. And then I Have Eternal Nights on Saturday. I'm thinking of streaming, like I said, Life is Strange in large, 5 streams before the end of the year, at 5 different times of the year. It might just be an afternoon on a Saturday, an afternoon on a Sunday. Honestly, I'm not going to keep it to a schedule, because I think I just want to have it preserved and just see if we can bring in a new audience and stuff for that. And then once we're done with Eternal Nights, we have Legends of Heroes, Trails in the Sky, second chapter coming up, and then who knows from there for that Saturday night block. But and then Podcast Prime will be coming back sometime in the new year. We got to figure out the logistics of that. But probably all those announcements will be at the end of the year with firm dates and stuff like that. So, all right. We made it to December. We have one more month in 2024. And hopefully you enjoy this month with your friends and family before shit hits the fan next month. But we'll deal with that when it comes with it. So thank you guys for joining me. And we'll see you next time. Bye.